Antes de que entremos al episodio del día de hoy, quiero que veas, por favor, lo divertido y lo delicioso que es tocar los cuencos de los Himalayas. Mi camino de búsqueda personal comenzó con Tepozcuencos, Coyoacán. Un día tenía ganas de hacer algo distinto, de adoptar un hobby y llegué a los cuencos de los Himalayas. Y me di cuenta de que tienen infinitas posibilidades. Tú puedes integrar esta habilidad, te dediques a lo que te dediques. Tengo amigos dentistas, tatuadores, psicoterapeutas, maestros, que han integrado los cuencos en sus prácticas y siempre les da un plus. Es muy generoso y es muy amoroso tocar los cuencos de los Himalayas para las personas que quieres. Así que si tú quieres aprender a cómo facilitar estos conciertos con estas frecuencias tan místicas y hermosas, quiero que contactes a Tepozcuencos, Coyoacán. Así los encuentras en Instagram y todo el tiempo están ofreciendo cursos presenciales por toda la República Mexicana y algunos otros países. Te voy a dar el teléfono de Jeffrey para que te pongas en contacto con él y le digas, Jeffrey, yo soy carnalien, quiero aprender contigo. Yannina me recomendó escribirte. El teléfono es +52 55 44 43 0106. Y si tú tienes ganas de tocar los cuencos de una forma profesional, porque hay que saber cómo funcionan estos metales, cómo funcionan estas baquetas. No es cualquier cosa. Si quieres aprenderlo de una forma profesional, entonces contacta a Tepozcuencos, Coyoacán. Amiguitos, y quiero invitarlos a algo muy especial, a los retiros de revelación cósmica que estamos ofreciendo mi marido y yo en este 2026. Anota las fechas para ver cuál de estas fechas te queda. Del 23 al 26 de abril, del 21 al 24 de mayo, del 11 al 14 de septiembre o del 2 al 5 de octubre. Estos retiros mixtos suceden en una playa secreta cerca de Puerto Vallarta y todos los carnaliens del mundo nos reunimos ahí para disfrutar 4 días expandiendo nuestra conciencia. Suceden muchas prácticas muy interesantes. Te recomiendo que consultes el programa a través de mis redes sociales. Está en destacados toda la información de nuestros retiros, pero sí creo que regalarte 4 días para enfocarte en ti va a ser un cambio importante en tu vida. Y si tú tienes ganas de que pasemos 4 días en la playa, pues ahí te espero con muchísimo amor para que vivamos la experiencia mística que tú sabes que facilito desde hace muchísimos años. Me dará muchísimo gusto conocerte. Busca más información en mis redes sociales y nos vemos en la playa. Estás escuchando Sabiduría Psicodélica por Yannina Thomassiny. Hola, hola amiguitos, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos a Sabiduría Psicodélica. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Estoy halagadísima con la vida de este episodio, de este momento. Está aquí en el estudio con nosotros Ananda Sarita, que es, yo me atrevo a decir que un pedacito de Osho aquí en la tierra. Ella vivió muchísimos años al lado de Osho en su ashram, tanto en India como en Estados Unidos, y pudo aprender de él muchísimas cosas. Y además es una de las maestras más hermosas que existen en el mundo del Tantra actualmente. Ella tiene una escuela maravillosa en donde enseña Tantra desde un lugar muy luminoso, mostrando que el Tantra no es nada más algo relacionado con la sexualidad, sino algo mucho más profundo que eso. Una forma muy profunda de vivir en esta realidad, un despertar de conciencia que te hace darte cuenta del bliss, de la gracia que tiene la existencia misma. Y bueno, ustedes saben lo fan que yo soy de Osho, así que para mí es un honor tener a Ananda Sarita aquí. Y esta entrevista va a ser en inglés, porque Ananda Sarita habla inglés, pero bueno, espero que ustedes puedan conectar con su información. Y eso es todo. How are you, Ananda Sarita? How are you?
I'm so happy, very happy to be here and to meet you also.
Oh, me too. I never couldn't imagine this moment, like even in my biggest dreams, to have you here in my house and to talk in front of you, because I really admire your work and the path of Osho. So I feel like you are like a little piece of Osho here in my house. In fact, I want another hug later. Okay? So tell me, Ananda Sarita, for those who are meeting you for the first time, who is Ananda Sarita beyond labels, beyond the roles? How will you describe who you are today and at the deepest level?
I am a devotee of life, and I'm also a person who loves this magical reality that we find ourselves in. So my whole life, I wanted to find the essence of life. That's what started me on my journey. I found that essence through Osho, and now I live in the magic, and I help others to access their own unique magical being. I came to Osho when I was 17 years old. That was in 1973. There's such a thing as chronological age and biological age.
Yes, two different things.
Two different things. So my biological age is younger than my chronological age. I do Ayurveda Panchakarma every year for 1 month. So I take care of my health and well-being. And I've also been vegan for many years, vegetarian since 73, vegan since 96. So I really love and honor my body and take care of it in the best possible way.
And you look amazing. You look so beautiful and young. My perception around someone that is young is someone that is open. Someone that knows that learning, it never ends.
Yes, this is what creates longevity, actually, when the person is always ready to learn and to be curious about life and to celebrate life, to honor life, and to squeeze, what Osho used to say, squeeze the juice out of life, find the nectar in every moment.
How do you feel that? How do you live that celebration in life, in daily life?
Mostly I am teaching, so I live it by sharing with others. There came a point when I found the essence, I found the nectar, then what to do but share that. So I'm mostly in groups, teaching, supporting people on their path, helping them access their own essence, their own juice of life. And this gives me tremendous joy. Yeah.
Do you think that one of our biggest purpose in life is to share, is to be open, to hold space for others?
If someone has already accessed their own nectar, then certainly that wants to overflow and be shared with others, and that brings tremendous fulfillment.
Yes.
Like I always remember what Buddha said to his disciples: first attain your own enlightenment, and then don't stop there. Keep sharing that with others. Let it overflow.
Exactly.
So, and it's expressed really beautifully in Osho's dynamic meditation, that at the end of the dynamic, you have the phase of celebration and gratitude, which is expressed through the dance. So I think this is very, very important.
My favorite meditation is dynamic meditation. Which one is your favorite of Osho world?
I love all of his meditations, and I find different ones of the meditations become more relevant at different times, depending on how you're growing and evolving as a person. I started my journey through dynamic meditation. So I was doing Osho Dynamic every day for 1.5 years.
Wow.
And I feel that I became the dynamic meditation.
Of course.
It's still completely alive in me, and I love sharing it with other people also. Yeah, it's a deep love affair, the dynamic.
Yes, it's a big compromise, no? It's first ones are like, why I'm here, why I'm doing this.
Yes.
Then you start to see like the transformation and like all the old memories of the body that are coming out. You start to feel like lighter, happier,
Yes.
more
And
open to life.
more inner ecstasy flowing.
Exactly.
More creativity, more aliveness, and more power in every cell.
Yes.
When I'm teaching it, I always tell people what Osho's done is he's taken the 5 stages of spiritual development and condensed it into a 1-hour practice. That creates a blueprint for the whole spiritual path inside of you. And then as you walk your life path, you tap into those phases and it becomes easier because you've already done it as a 1-hour meditation practice. And that's further enhanced if people do it every day for like 21 days, for example. Like with my students, I give them the challenge, do it every day for 21 days and see what kind of transformation happens for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's many people that are just going through that process. It's really very special, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. My favorite meditation of all times. Let's go back to every beginning of your journey. What was your inner world like before your spiritual path began? How did you perceive reality back then? And what was the moment of the calling that led you all the way to India to search of deeper answers?
My spiritual path actually started when I was 4 years of age.
4?
At 4 years of age, I knew very definitively the only important thing in life is to find the essence of life. So I determined I'm going to do that. Nothing else matters. And then when I was 9 years of age, I had my first Satori experience where I was too thirsty to find the essence of life and I couldn't wait. I said it's taking too long to grow up sufficiently to access that. So I sat under a tree and I determined I'm not leaving this spot till I find it.
Wow.
And I hadn't been introduced to meditation. My parents were atheists, so I had no spiritual education, you could say. It was all coming like an inborn call. So I was sitting under the tree, I closed my eyes and I waited and I had my clear intention, I need to find the essence of life. And suddenly I was being pulled down a long dark tunnel at supersonic speed, like supersonic, and suddenly I found myself in the center of the universe and I heard the sound Om. I had never been introduced to Om, but I heard this soundless sound, which I knew was the source of the universe, and just completely let go and let it reverberate in and around me. And yeah, then eventually I came back and I was trying to figure out, okay, which direction in my life should I go to live by this essence? And I thought, it's a sound, but it's also a vibration. So what comes first, sound or vibration? Then I understood vibration is actually creating sound. Therefore, vibration is the first of this essence. Therefore, I should go in the direction of dance and get in tune with this vibration so that I can live according to this essence. And then when I was 15, I left my hometown and I went in search. And first of all, I went to New York to study dance. I got a job as an au pair. I got a scholarship and I also paid for extra dance classes. So I was immersing myself in the world of dance. And at a certain point, I felt, oh, this is not really giving the depth that I'm looking for. It's too much on the surface. So then I went to an Indian dance studio and I inquired about studying there. When I walked into this studio, there was a huge Nataraj statue. This is Shiva in a ring of fire, dancing in a ring of fire. And I got a complete shock through my whole body. I knew this is something I'm looking for. So I asked the dance teacher, what is this? She said, this is Shiva dancing the world into being. And I knew, that's it, I have to go to India.
Next stop, India.
Next stop, India. It took a little more time. I had to take a flight to London. Then I hitchhiked all through Europe, then all through the Middle East, overland to India.
Wow.
When I was in India, I encountered, first of all, Goenka in Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya is the place where Buddha got enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
So I did 10-day Vipassana. That was my introduction into meditation. And I recognized through that's what I had been doing as a child without realizing it. And from there, I heard Goenka is going to do a 1-month silent retreat in Mumbai. So I went to Mumbai. And the night before the silent retreat, I met Osho.
Wow, where?
In Mumbai. He was living in an apartment in Mumbai. In a backpacker hotel, I met a man and his girlfriend who said, we're going to see somebody very interesting tonight. Maybe you would like to come. I was always up for adventure, so I said, okay. I went. They didn't explain anything. They just said, come.
Just come.
Just come. There's a very interesting person. That was all. So I arrived to that apartment. There was about 30 people sitting in silence, wearing orange robes.
Yes.
So having learned meditation, I just sat in silence, not knowing what was coming. And then Osho came. At that time, he was known as Bhagwan. He looked like he was floating. His movement was so graceful. Now, I had come to India thinking I need to meet a dance master. And when I saw Osho, I knew he has the secret of the dance. That's how I thought of it. Because I didn't still know about spirituality and all this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought he's the dance master because of the way he was moving, the way he was sitting, the grace of his gestures. It was incredible. And he started giving a discourse on the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. I still remember the sutra.
Which sutra was that one?
You know, the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra has 112 meditation methods.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sutra he was commenting on goes like this. While engaged in sexual union, stay attentive on the fire in the beginning, and so continuing, avoid the embers in the end.
Wow.
He gave 1.5-hour discourse on this one sutra. Blew my mind completely.
Of
completely,
course.
like gone. And to make it even more extraordinary, the next morning, the same person said, you have to go and do the dynamic meditation, which I didn't know what it was. But I went to Chowpatty Beach, so it was on the public beach.
How many people?
There was maybe 15 people there.
Okay.
It was still early days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the dynamic meditation. And then Osho was offering Shaktipat, his version of Shaktipat. Shaktipat means it's a kind of download from the master,
Mm-hmm.
where they are taking your suffering and giving you back bliss.
Like touching here, right? Or
You know, different masters have different way of doing it. So
Okay.
I can tell you how he was doing it if you're interested.
yes, of course.
So there was about 100 people there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one of his disciples, Sri Chinmay, and he was describing to us what we have to do. So there was golden images of Osho's feet. They were actually cast from his feet. We were all given a marigold flower and asked to offer this flower to those feet of Osho. And when I did this, it was literally like a thunderbolt came through me, completely spun me out. It was so powerful. I was a bit scared because I thought maybe it's a cult or something, I don't know. But then I thought, okay, I won't know unless I try. So I have to try, and then I can see if that's for me or not.
Of course.
So this was very powerful, offering the flower. And before offering the flower, we were asked to put our ego into the flower. All of our suffering, our misery, our egoic mind into the flower, then offer it to his feet. That was the symbolism. Then he came onto the podium and he invited us to give him all of our suffering. That was the first phase. So for about 20 minutes, all the people there were howling, screaming, catharting, letting go of all their misery and offering it directly to him. And he was standing there, his arms open, just receiving it all. And I was thinking, who does this? Where in the world do you find any human being who just invites you to give them all of your suffering? That's not possible. That such people don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
After 20 minutes, he invited us to lay down and to feel our own inner divinity, to feel the divine circulating within. He brought us into such a state of bliss, and that continued for about 20 minutes. He was caressing us with bliss, with love, bringing us back into a remembrance of our true essence. And after that, I went to my 1 month silent Vipassana
You
retreat.
went?
Of course I went. I was already booked. So I went.
I thought that you were going to quick and just stay with Osho immediately.
Because I didn't know that he's offering anything else, because nobody explained.
Yes.
You know, Osho sannyasins don't proselytize. So nobody said anything. So I thought, okay, I just do my retreat. And then after the month was over and we could speak again, somebody who was in that retreat said, by the way, Bhagwan is offering a meditation camp in Mount Abu, which is between Gujarat and Rajasthan, so it's in this area. And so I went there, and that's where I got initiated into Osho Sannyas.
And you stayed there 27 years.
26 years.
26. Wow.
Yeah. So at first he was in Mumbai. I used to see him once or twice a week for personal darshan, and he would counsel me about meditation, etc. And then finally, after a year, he moved to Pune, started his ashram there. So I was there. We were there 7 years. Then he went to USA. I was there in USA. Then he went back to Pune. I came back to Pune. So I was there from basically 73 till 99.
What a beautiful journey.
The first 17 years, I just worked on myself. And then from 1990, I started teaching.
Beautiful. Can you share with us your story around being one of the pitonisas of Osho, the woman that were dancing around Osho? The mediums of Osho. Can you share with us that story? Because I love that.
That was a really mind-blowing episode. You know, Osho used to work in phases. He would pour himself into a certain phase, then he would make a change and then create a new phase. So that was one of the phases of his work, was giving what he called energy darshan. Darshan means to see.
Okay.
It's to see the truth, to see the divine. So in that kind of session, first of all, people would come who wanted to be initiated into sannyas. So he would give them sannyas, which include receiving a mala, like this one, with his picture, receiving a new name, and then he would talk to them about their meditation, their direction on their spiritual path. So there were people coming for that, people who were going to be leaving, going back to their home country, so he would give them blessing. And then came the people who wanted to receive this blessing from Osho on the third eye. And at a certain point, with that whole exploration, Osho had about 30 mediums.
Wow.
These were 30 women. And he said in one discourse, you can think of them as my 30 wives. Of course, nobody was having sex with him. We were just there to support the people who were going through the energy darshan. And he used to put us in different configurations. And we received the instruction to completely let go into our inner ecstasy. His presence was already ecstatic.
Yes.
But in that energy darshan, it was done in a very interesting way. There was a button on his chair. So as that energy darshan was starting, the musicians would play really wild and crazy music, like very chaotic music.
Yes.
He would push the button on the chair and the whole ashram would go into pitch darkness. And wherever anybody was in the ashram, no matter what they were doing, they would just stop and tune in to the energy.
Oof.
And then he would place the mediums in a certain configuration. He would place the people who were going to receive the energy, and the mediums would be supporting those people or dancing very wildly, and we were allowed to make sounds. So we were singing, screaming, howling, laughing, like it was a tremendous orgasmic chaos.
Yes.
And then he would touch the third eye of the people receiving his energy, who came for the energy darshan. He would also touch the third eye of the mediums. It was complete bedlam. Now, one energy darshan would last approximately 5 minutes, and then the music would go down, the lights would come up, and
the person faint, or?
Many times they would faint, like in a complete ecstatic trance.
Yes.
They wouldn't literally faint, but they couldn't control their body. They would
like melted
into ecstasy. And then there were strong guys there who would carry them out. As the medium, we had to stay very present. Like, we could go into total ecstasy, but we also had to come back suddenly. We had to be able to do that. Otherwise, we couldn't remain a medium if we were too spaced out and not able to come back. So it was a great training in going into this ecstatic bliss and coming back also.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you for sharing this story. It's beautiful.
It was very, very, very powerful. It changed me forever, I could say.
Yes.
Because you can imagine every night going into such ecstasy, what it would do to you.
For years?
He was doing that for, I think it was approximately 3 years. He was doing
wow.
this. Then he stopped it himself and he gave it to 2 disciples to carry on with that.
How do you felt the years that Osho took the decision of being in silence? Because I can imagine that after connecting deeply with him, like talking, sharing, listening to the talks daily, and being in presence with him, then Osho took the decision of like going inside of him, and what happens inside of the ashram. And yourself.
Yeah, that was during the ranch in Oregon.
Okay.
So it was at a time when we were building the community, and people were very immersed in their work. So what Osho did is he would come out once a day and just drive by slowly, and people would be lined up, singing, dancing, playing musical instruments, going into ecstasy while he was driving by. And he would namaste or sometimes stop the car and give somebody a little gift or things like that. So it was a very ecstatic moment to see him every day, but he was not giving discourse. And you know this saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play. So he was in his seclusion, except for the drive-by every day. And during that time, that's when all these power games started, and maybe he was watching what happens if he's no longer there in his body, what will happen to his movement.
Of course.
And it went haywire. Actually, it was just a few people who got into that power game and destroyed everything. The other ones were just sincerely in their devotional service, in their work as worship, building a utopian city and community. It was absolutely mind-blowing. It was so ecstatic. And people went to the limits of their energy. Like, if you can imagine, we were working approximately 16 hours a day and making love all night. So it was an extraordinary experiment in the limits of human energy, actually. And it was happening in such joy, such love, devotion. So nowadays, I think one of the reasons I have so much energy is because of that training.
Yes.
Like my students, they say, how do you do it? It's not possible what you're doing. day after day, year after year. You're so present. You hardly take days off. You're working all the time. Don't you get tired? I said, yes, but my work is my worship. So it brings tremendous fulfillment. I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. I love my work. So it's no longer work in that sense. Yeah, and I learned that through Osho's community.
So beautiful. You know, in my case, when I start my path, I have been doing like a long temazcals. And at the beginning, my mind was so afraid to darkness, to the darkness, to the hot weather that you feel inside, like all the question mark that you feel inside of a temazcal. And at the beginning, I can feel like I was struggling a lot, and then I start to train myself to be there. And then I was doing temazcal with fasting for many days, and I really believe that all these trainings that it takes me to farther than my mind, transform me into the woman that I am today, that I can deal with reality, that I have a radical acceptance of all the possibilities, that I can like hold space for people, that I can be in difficult situations, and I know that that's part of reality. No?
Yes.
So it's beautiful to take yourself to that like strong challenge.
Yeah, it sounds like you are approaching it as a spiritual path, actually. I think that's the difference that makes all the difference. That you're not doing it just to escape from your homework. You're doing your homework with the medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Osho as a human being. For all of us who love and admire Osho, can you share some personal stories or little curiosities about him? How was he is the small human every moment of his life? Like how was to be in presence of this human being? Because I know that many people can see Osho as something higher or something very mystical, but at the end, Osho was in a human experience. So can you share curiosities with us?
Okay, I'll share a very funny story, because when I first started working in Osho's ashram, I was given one job of making a Zen path in his garden, so that was my first job. Then I was given the job of cleaning his house, and that job I did for 8 years. It was a way of really annihilating my ego completely, because I was a very young woman. I was just 19 when I started that job. It was, it was super powerful, and it is the foundation of all of my work, because outer cleaning means inner cleaning. And now when I work with my students, I feel like I'm still cleaning. That's a cleaning process that's going on there.
Yes.
So in the beginning, I had a kind of hero worship of Osho. Like, for example, I would be in his presence, I would be completely spaced out, I would start going into some other dimension. It was like being on a psychedelic drug, actually. So I thought he's a kind of godly person, and I couldn't imagine him having basic human needs. So one day, the first time I was asked to clean his bedroom, and I was in this fluttering kind of, in this awe. Oh my God, I get to touch his bed. I'm wiping the floor where he walks, all this worship. And he was in the bathroom while I was cleaning his bedroom. So suddenly, from the bathroom, I started hearing very rude noises. Like, in India, people clear their throat and they spit. So he was doing that.
Yes, of course.
Then I was hearing him on the toilet, so there was loud fighting sounds, and all these sounds were coming from the bathroom, and I was in a kind of shock. Oh my God,
He's a human.
He's human. He's human. And it was such a revelation that spirituality is not separate from physicality. That the spiritual is also part of our physicality. And the physical is part of our spirituality. So that moment became a very deep revelation for me, and I really carried it forward into my life. Yeah.
I love that. When I was in the ashram, I heard that some curiosities of Osho, like he was in love with Coca-Cola. That he loves Coca-Cola and was diabetic. And even with the diabetic, was like, I want a Coca-Cola, like a little child.
Yeah, Diet Coke.
Diet Coke, yes. And then I heard that when he was traveling around the world, for Osho, his toys were their books. So even if he was going to anywhere, all the sannyasis needs to pack all the books and bring them with him, like, because Osho was like, my little toys, like all the books. And another thing is that he was looking for colors, joyfulness, like happiness, celebration all the time. So the library, the books that are like black, they are covered in colors to this like wave of colors with the books. So I was inside of the library and I was like, wow, it feels like a party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he used to read 6 books per day.
Wow.
And he would then do coloring on the inner page of the book. Like when you open, he would do these amazing colored paintings, basically.
Yes.
With colored pens. And those later became great works of art. Like disciples would collect these because somebody took them and made very high quality prints out of those designs he had put in his books. And he would even do notations in the books. He would later quote from the books. Nobody knew how he could possibly remember all this, reading 6 books a day. Like it looks an impossible task. So it was one of his superpowers. Yeah.
Raj in the ashram told me that Osho was like taking the books and just like passing the page like this, like scanning the books, not just like next page.
Yeah.
Tun, 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 next page. And just like taking all the information really quick.
And he was retaining that information. And he would bring it up later in discourses. He would talk about different quotes or something from these books that he was reading at super speed.
Yes.
So that was one of his superpowers.
Recently, I was super interested in the Bhagavad Gita. And it was really difficult for me to read that book because I was like, I don't understand this information. So I went to Osho's library and I found that there is an interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita through Osho.
Yes.
Then when I start to be curious around Tantra, I start to read Osho's book around Tantra, and then the Tao, and then the Zen, and then the woman, and then the men, and then the kids. And like there is a big... like a library of different topics around Osho, no? And I love Osho's interpretations.
And also, he used to weave together very deep spiritual discourse and intersperse that with jokes.
Yes.
I'm sure you know that.
Yes, I love that.
So he's really a rascal master in that way.
Yes.
He used telling jokes as a device to help people on their spiritual path, imagine. And his jokes are really risque also. I remember I was there the first time he told a dirty joke in his discourse, and people literally didn't know, should we laugh, should we cry, should we bury our head, what should we do? Well, he's telling this joke because he was giving a very refined, very deep discourse. People were meditating, and you know how it is as meditators, you meditating and then, this kind of thing was happening. Yes. He must have seen, okay, people are getting sleepy, and then he told this absolutely dirty joke, And everybody sat up, like, what's happening? What's happening? That was funny in its own right.
Yes.
And then from there, he continued doing that all the way till he left his body. He still continued telling these very, very risque jokes.
I love those jokes. My favorite one is the one that is about the word fuck.
This is a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece, right?
Masterpiece, yeah.
Yes, it's so good.
Yeah.
When I was in the ashram, I was going daily to the night conversation on, I don't know how they call it. And I was watching the videos daily. Mm-hmm. And I love that at the beginning was so serious and like giving you the deepest information in the world, like open your heart, your mind, disfragmentating all your beliefs in one moment, because in my opinion, that's the speciality of Osho, like to destroy all your beliefs and to leave you in the middle without, like, if you are trying to hang yourself to something, you cannot, like you're just like, ah. And at the end, the jokes.
Yes.
I love that
Incredible.
Configuration.
Yeah, he was using contradictions basically to expand the mind.
Yes.
And provoke the capacity for genius.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I discovered, because maybe one day he would speak on this subject and your mind says, oh yes, this is the ultimate truth. This is it. Then the next day, he will speak exactly the opposite, and he does it so eloquently, so you say, oh no, this is the ultimate truth. Yesterday, that was not really, this is it. And he kept on doing that on and on, till finally your mind says, okay, I can't grasp one or the other. I have to expand my consciousness to contain both. Expand large enough to contain all the contradictions of life. So this was a tremendous device and tremendous gift.
Yes, because also it's like what I can see is that people are really afraid to hold themselves in the middle. So Osho was doing something to, like, it's impossible to track their ideas.
Yes.
And to like start a religion or like a cult or something, because it's contradiction, truth, this fragmentation, like so you cannot track that. So you cannot like hold yourself to Osho. You just receive this information to go back to yourself.
Yes.
That's what I feel when I'm reading Osho.
And to expand beyond the limitations of the normal mind.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a tremendous gift he gave to humanity. And the beauty is that's still working, because everybody could listen to his discourses, his audio, video, or read his books, and you can still get this teaching. So he's still working with people. This is the amazing thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you know a painter called Hilma Klimt?
Yes. Yeah.
So this woman was like a witch, like a alchemist, like someone that was really mystical in those days. And they kept their art for many years because this woman said, the world is not ready for my art. So wait 100 years and then you release my paintings.
Very special.
So in my opinion, Osho is kind of the same. Like it was open in the 50s, but imagine to contextualize Osho in the 50s, someone that goes to the open TV and says, God doesn't exist, is huge.
And also his talks on sexuality and
spirituality,
from sex to superconsciousness, it created a kind of revolution in India. He got thrown out of 2 venues. He had to postpone the series because of that, and it created such a scandal. And yet it is the #1 best-selling book of his. He has over 650 titles, but that one continues to rile people up. And it was given in the 60s, so this is incredible.
See?
Yeah.
I read in Osho's biography that he starts going to Congress of Religions and was faking that was interested in those religions and was like, he was so intelligent to do a
Debate.
A debate, or like to cover their ideas into different words. That was into like a Jewish Congress. And suddenly start to talk about Judaism and was like, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly go to another place and was like questioning Judaism, and people were like in the middle of the Congress like, what? Without expecting it. No?
Yeah, he was so brilliant.
So brilliant.
So brilliant.
So let's start to talk about Tantra.
Yes.
Because that's your thing. So there is so much misunderstandings around Tantra. From your lived experience, how would you define Tantra in an authentic way? And how did Tantra enter in your personal life? What did it awake inside of you?
So my introduction into Tantra, well, it started with the first discourse I heard of Osho, obviously. And from that point, I became very, very enamored of the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. I've been teaching it now for many years. Also, I teach it as an experiential process, all these 112 methods. Then secondly, when I started having these private consultations with Osho, I didn't know it at the time, but every meditation he gave to me to practice was a tantric meditation. And I was going through radical transformation practicing these methods, but he didn't tell me this is Tantra. I only found out later on those were all Tantra methods. So one situation happened that really stands out. Usually he would speak with me, give me some meditation, then he would ask me, how is that practice going? Then he might refine that method or give me a new method. So it was going like that. In the first year, I received so many methods to practice. But on one occasion, instead of speaking with me, he just started very gently caressing my arm. And his touch was so exquisite. It took me very, very deep. And suddenly I started crying. I was crying and sobbing. I didn't know why. He stopped and he said, what is happening? And it just burst out of me. I hate my body. I didn't know where it came from. And so then he just continued this very gentle caress. And he said, love the body, love the body, love the body. It's through the body you reach the divine. At that moment, I took a 180-degree turn, because I was carrying this misconception that spirituality and the body are antithesis to each other. That if you're going on the spiritual path, you have to somehow deny the body. And I was all in, like, I'm ready, you know. But he was turning me around. No, go within the body, trust the body, love the body. So from that point, I started deeply connecting with my body. It became my guru. I learned so much. I found out the entire universe is inside of our body. And there is actually a tantric saying that every cell of the body contains the whole universe. So this then became my path. And that really set me very firmly on the tantric path. That was the turning point. Yeah.
Wow.
And by listening to the body, I learned everything. Everything. It's all in here. We don't have to go out there. We just go within, and all the answers are within.
I think that we forget that this experience is material. And our vehicle is this body.
Yes, and this body is sacred.
It's sacred.
So in my experience, the purpose of being human is to first of all embrace the body, love the body, trust in the body. Within the crucible of meditation, of course, you're bringing a witnessing consciousness to this experience. That in turn will take you on that journey of awakening Kundalini, moving through the chakra system, learning the life lessons inherent in the chakras. And as you grow and evolve, eventually the superconscious will open. And you will find that you're available then to receive the descent of grace. Grace is omnipresent. It's always showering on us. But because we have stagnation in our central channel, we're not always able to receive it. But once you do the work and you've opened that central channel, you receive that descent of grace in and through you, and you literally become walking divinity. And I believe this is the true purpose of being human. When you can say clearly, God lives in my genitals. God lives in this body. This body is made for bliss. When you can own that, you have realized the purpose of being human.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So, living a tantric life. What does a tantric life actually look like in every reality? How does it change the way you relate to your body, your emotions, your relationships, and your presence in the world? Explain a little bit around Tantra to people, like a tantric vision of life, not just the philosophy that people is related with.
How you practice it.
Exactly.
Tantra, basically, if we want to put it in a nutshell, it's based on methods of meditation. And these methods cover every aspect of human life experience. And essentially, you're bringing a witnessing consciousness to every single aspect of life. That means every life experience opens a portal into expanded consciousness if you apply witnessing to it. So whether you're drinking a cup of tea, walking in nature, going to sleep, making love, doesn't matter. Whatever it is the door. So I think of meditation and Tantra as being a knack. You learn the knack of applying that witnessing consciousness to anything in life, and every moment becomes meditation. So this is the gift Tantra is offering. And people have greatly misunderstood it because it also embraces our sexuality. And because people have a sex-spirit divide, they hear, oh, you can bring sexuality as a spiritual experience, so then they only focus on sex because they can't imagine sex and spirituality can be one. It doesn't compute with people. So then it takes some training to understand how to get this knack. There are meditations for sleeping, for eating and drinking, for engaging with others, for emotions. All is included for the chakra system, for Kundalini energy, for expanded states of consciousness. It's all included.
What about love related with Tantra?
So one of the ways I can describe is the meaning of the word Tantra. I think that's very important to understand. In Sanskrit, one word has several different meanings. And you apply the meaning depending on the context in which it's being used. So one of the meanings of Tantra is to weave. Now, if you think about weaving, you have a vertical thread, you have a horizontal thread.
Yes.
This represents our spiritual being, the vertical, our horizontal or hedonistic way of being is the horizontal thread. You weave these together, you have Tantra. It's giving the indication that Tantra is based in polarity or duality. And as you bring these polarities together, you will experience godliness or the ultimate truth of creation. It's the creation principle is based on the play of duality. So we learn how to weave opposite polarities together, and this becomes our Tantra path. Now the way that works with yin and yang or male and female, these are opposite polarities. You weave them together and you have the ultimate truth. This can be applied to love also. The masculine path, the natural masculine path is meditation and witnessing. If you only have meditation witnessing, it's dry. But if you bring that together with the feminine path of love and devotion, suddenly the path becomes very juicy. So you're bringing together love and meditation. That is the Tantra path. And this is only one of the meanings of Tantra. There's another meaning, transforming poison into nectar. Just imagine all these aspects of the human being that people normally consider to be poisonous. Anger, maybe
jealousy,
jealousy, all these different aspects that we think those are not good. Sexuality, hedonism. But in Tantra, you bring a witnessing consciousness to those. They are then revealed in their divine aspect. So behind everything that we normally consider to be poison, there is a nectar waiting to be discovered. And this is part of the Tantra path, is transforming poison into nectar. Then there's another meaning, methods of transforming consciousness. So this is indicating to us that Tantra is based in methods. We practice the method, and through our practice, our own innate sensitivity and intelligence starts bubbling up. We become wise by practicing the method, living it, experiencing it, and that awakens our whole ability to understand creation, the creation principle, from different angles.
This opens a question that I have been talking inside of my mind. I am around this idea. I think that every human being is connected to the same light. It's a fact that we come from light. But what makes us different and special is our shadow. And I think that our education and the system teach us to just connect with our light, or in the search of light. No? Our path is, I just want to be light. And I think that that's a mistake if we just look for our light. And when I was doing Tantra in Brazil, I had this shadow work of all these moments that a lot of insecurities of myself, a lot of things that I thought that were in the past was coming to the surface, like sparkling water, like something that was coming up.
Yes, steam.
Exactly.
The steam coming out of the pressure cooker.
Yes. And I was like, what is going on? Imagine my husband and I, as a couple, we went to this Tantra process. And in the middle of the Tantra process, we were like, are we going to separate ourselves? Are we going to finish this relation? Because the idea of being open to everything was there, open to life. You are not the owner of anyone. Even when we don't practice our relationship through you are mine or something like that, Tantra opened a shadow work that I never expected. So let's talk about that darkness, that shadow that comes with Tantra.
Yes, this is very important. There's a saying in Tantra that the fastest path to enlightenment is walking the Tantra path as a couple. But it's like walking on a razor's edge. The razor's edge is all the emotional quagmire that's waiting there, because the moment you start poking your nose into sexuality, the instinctual nature, there is a lot of chaos that will be stirred up. And the challenge is, can you bring the light of awareness into that density? So this is the sadhana, and especially in today's world. Now, I became fascinated with this. So one of my specialties is working with couples. I developed 7 levels for couples. I call it the soulmate series. And so the couples do a group of 7 days, then they're given a lot of sadhana practice, which is done in the bedroom in sexuality. So the sex itself becomes part of your spiritual sadhana. That stirs everything. Everything comes up to the surface, and you keep on dedicatedly shining the light of awareness into the density. Gradually it becomes lighter, your consciousness expands, and your capacity for inner ecstasy expands exponentially, dramatically. And it is every human being's birthright to know the full capacity of inner ecstasy that we have inside of us. Not as not that you're pushing away the darkness, no. It's because you've brought the light of awareness into the density. It opens to reveal its magnificence. It's actually a lotus of consciousness that's hiding there. And so you unveil these lotuses that are in every chakra. When all the 7 chakras meet in the couple, as Osho says, this is the phenomena of the soulmate. When you do the sadhana practice, you open all the chakras, you discover the inner ecstasy potential of every chakra and all the 7 chakras together. That is the soulmate. So this is an incredibly beautiful path. And in the quote where Osho talks about this, he says, this is a treasure that's been laying there unused. The day humanity uses it, the earth will become aglow with a new love. So this is a big part of my vision and mission, is to really go in there where nobody wants to go, actually, and bring that light of awareness. I call it a loving awareness, because you're merging equally the Shiva and the Shakti energies.
The other day I was on Instagram and I saw a meme that was a couple in a bed. They are like about to have sex, and the parents of him and the parents of her are in the bed, no?
Yes.
Like in a metaphorically way,
Yes.
no? They are there. So that brings me an idea of like the compromise of working in your beliefs, in your history, to working your way of perceiving reality, to really create a solid and profound couple.
Yes.
Otherwise, you are like doing the image of the meme, no? Like all the world in the bed with you.
Yes.
Not just yourself. Not.
I have a very funny, true story about this. I was in Italy, in Rome, and there was a very wealthy couple. They had invited me and my partner, who were teaching Tantra, to come to their home. They were having tremendous difficulty in their marriage, and they wanted us to help them. So there we were in the home, and they were showing us the beautiful home, amazing, gorgeous home. But in the bedroom, they had a huge painting just above the bed of Jesus crucified.
I know.
With all the blood flowing and all of this from the wounds, and it was unbelievable. So we said, well, obviously, if you have this image above your bed, that's not conducive for tantric lovemaking. That would be very disturbing. And they said, oh no, but we can't move it. We said, take it out of the bedroom. They said, no.
Immediately.
They said, we can't move it because that was given by the grandmother.
Ooh.
And it's a very precious artwork. So then we said, okay, so in the bed while you're making love, you have Jesus crucified, you have the grandmother.
Yes.
And the whole conditioning that comes with Catholicism and whatever.
Yes.
So this is not conducive for having good sex. Please find another place for the painting.
Remove all the images. I remember when
people are unknowingly giving themselves more trouble.
Yes. I remember when I was young that I have an aunt that was really religious. And the bed was exactly the same, like a big bed with a huge Jesus Christ in the cross. And my mom is not religious. And my mom, every time that we went to my aunt's house, my mom was like, look at this. How can they have sex with this? And I was really young. And I was like, Mom, shut up. But it's true.
Yeah, it's true. So people often, they will take to bed with him all their conditioning and everything. So when I do couples work, I actually give tools for people to start unwinding all these issues, projections, unconscious ways of communication. So they learn how to have conscious communication, how to unwind projections, to go into forgiveness, to do what I call a pillow beating ritual. So instead of dumping anger on each other, they empty it onto the pillow. This is one of Osho's devices.
Yes.
It's really very, very special. So like that, people can meditate and learn also how to be very conscious in the ways that they go into love and relating. It's very, very important.
Perfect. Can you share with us a tantric or mystical experience that deeply marked your life, a moment that changed you forever or opened a new dimension of understanding?
So many.
We can have 4 more podcasts about this.
Yeah, there was one moment where Osho was teaching me meditation. That was also in the early days when I had private meetings with him. So he told me, you go home to your bed, you lay down, and you go into orgasm without touching yourself, meaning without masturbating, and invite all this energy to move in and up through your whole body. So that was the instruction. I was very innocent at that time. I was only 17, so I didn't have so much experience about sex, or not very good experience, I could say. So I thought, okay, there's something wrong with me, because it must happen to everybody that they can just lay down, invite orgasm.
And it comes.
And it comes. So I'm very bad, because I need to masturbate if I want to have orgasm. So then I said, I have to follow his instructions. I went, laid down. I waited for the orgasm. Nothing happened, nothing at all, 0. So then I went back to him after a few days. He looked at me with his big eyes. Has it happened? And I was very ashamed. No, nothing happened. He said, okay, you try again. This happened 3 times that I tried, nothing happened. Finally, the next time I went to see him, he said, okay, you do it in front of me. Now, we were in India, and India is very hot. So he lived in an air-conditioned space. He had a marble floor. The marble floor was freezing cold because of the air conditioning. So I lay down on that freezing cold marble floor, waiting for the orgasm. Nothing happened. Then he was looking at me, and his eyes were looking directly at my yoni. The energy of his gaze, some energy started moving, and I said, okay, maybe it's not genital release, but at least it's something. So invite it in and up, I said to myself. And so the energy was moving, and suddenly it just went shooting through my central channel, out the crown chakra. I had a full cosmic orgasm.
Wow.
Without genital release. So this is the difference that makes all the difference. It was the first time I understood, orgasm is not necessarily genital release. I didn't know before. So then Osho was very happy. He said, okay, now things will be different. And I went on to do that meditation every day for 6 months, got radically transformed completely with myself, in relation with others, with my lover. Everything shifted, everything changed. And so this was an amazing experience. And of course, I also teach this meditation in my groups as well. I call it full body energy activation. Yeah.
I'm reading the Tantric Experience of Osho right now. And on Sunday, I read 2 pages that describe how personal is the orgasm. Even when you are with someone. You can be in a bed with someone, and at the end, it's like a set and setting in your brain to bring the orgasm to you. Even if the lover is the best lover ever, if you are not in the set and setting inside of you, you cannot bring the orgasm. And Osho was saying, like, that is something that is so individual, so personal, that you need to be open with yourself to give you that present.
Yes.
No?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So healing sexually. Mm-hmm. In your view, what are the first essential steps a human being needs to take in order to heal their sexually and reconnect with it in healthy, sacred, and conscious way?
So I think when we explore sexuality, it's very important to explore it within the crucible of meditation. Mm-hmm. Then we will be going in a very, very positive direction. Now, one of the basic things that many people suffer from is what I call LPS, locked pelvis syndrome.
Yes.
And this comes because of our conditioning. Essentially, we have been trained to be like bonsai tree because we're taught sexuality is shameful. So it's like the roots of a tree that was meant to be a huge, magnificent, full-grown tree, but the roots have been systematically cut, trimmed,
yes,
in order to keep it as a dwarf tree. So many people live as dwarves of who they could become. And so one of the first things that's very important is to open the flow of energy in the pelvis. Now, of course, Osho's dynamic meditation does that, and I experienced that myself, how it helped me to open. You can also open in other ways. You could use body work, you could do craniosacral therapy, you could do also breath work and African dance.
You can dance reggaeton.
Dance in a way that moves the pelvis, that keeps the energy moving and alive in the pelvis.
Yes.
Once you've awakened that possibility, then you can start inviting that energy in and up into inner ecstasy states. So this is basically a very important aspect of that path, and all done in that crucible of meditation. So you're doing this as a consciousness practice. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, you will be able to access tremendous inner ecstasy states. Mm-hmm. Now, for men, it's a very particular training, because if you don't want to leak your energy and you want to practice conservation method, then you need to go through specific training how to conserve your energy, not going into ejaculation, but to bring that in and up into expanded ecstasy states. And I'm not saying men should never ejaculate. It's actually beneficial to ejaculate sometimes. It's an automatic reflex, so the body needs it. But you don't have to ejaculate every time you make love. You can train yourself to bring that energy in and up, attain tremendous full body orgasmic and multiple orgasmic states without any loss of energy.
Mm-hmm. I just had a retreat with women, and we were dancing naked, and I saw how many of them, they couldn't move the hips.
Yes.
You know, there was like a robotic way of moving, no?
Yeah, because it's the conditioning. Religious conditioning basically has taught people to cut off from their basic life force energy. And this is very damaging for people.
Yes.
Because if you cut off, then you've cut off from your power and from your inner ecstasy potential. And of course, then you're easy to control and manage. So it is a kind of strategy done by society.
Even with the chakra loop, you know that the move is really like soft. You just need to do like this. There were women struggling with this small move, no? Like, because we are like all the time moving from the car to the chair,
exactly,
to the bed.
Yeah.
And I believe that in our past, we were moving more close to the fire, like going to the floor easily.
Squatting easily.
Exactly. So now people is just like tough,
stiff.
No? Stiff.
Yeah. So we have to loosen up. And I think the more African dance can come into our culture, the better it is also. Like I remember I was in Norway, which is, people are a bit uptight. They're
Yes.
very nice people, but somehow uptight with their bodies. And there was a tribe of African dancing women. Now, they were doing a special dance on stage in the town square. It was an absolutely awesome experience. So those women had big fat bottoms, and they were shaking their bottoms in so many ways with this wild drumming music. It was utterly astonishing. I was simply mesmerized. And I witnessed something which I think is very important. They were enjoying their fat. They were enjoying their fat bottoms, all the cellulite. They were shaking it and really moving with it with so much joy. That in itself became a transmission. And I thought, oh my God, this transmission needs to go all over the world. This is very, very important. Just love your fat, shake it, enjoy it, love your body, like get into it.
Yes.
This is such an important message.
You know, recently I record a monologue talking about how hard it is to see your parents growing up. No one prepares you to see your mother or your father becoming an elder. And I remember that all my life, I was the same size of my mom. We are big women. Big butt, big arms, big everything, no? And we share our clothes because same size of everything, even the bra, like everything. So recently I went to a mall with my mom to buy some clothes for her. And all the clothes of my mom were small because it is transforming into like a smaller person because it's getting old and it's smaller and smaller and smaller. And I was saying in this monologue that we should enjoy our fat. We should be enjoying our bodies in the way that is today because it's a miracle to be alive. And we pursue like an idea of how should we be, how do you say, like to look, different. No? Yeah. And we spread our lives like in the idea of I should be in a different body.
Yes.
And we don't also enjoy.
You know, that's also because of the conditioning that comes through the media, the advertisements about women, which is very unrealistic because by nature women have 20% more body fat than men. Then we should enjoy that. This is part of who we are as women. We naturally have belly because we have a womb. So that womb, you know, when you're getting your menstruation and it's expanding and then it shrinks and it goes through so many changes every month.
Yes.
So we need to embrace ourselves as we are. Love who we are. You don't see baboons going in the mirror, oh, what's wrong with me because I look like this or that. You don't see giraffes very concerned why I have such a long neck. No, that never happens. And every animal is beautiful. So people have been trained to hate their bodies. It's very, very unfortunate.
Talk a little bit about that because I think that is also related with the bad sex that people is having. No, because if we don't embrace ourselves, we cannot embrace another one.
Yes.
Or someone else. Like we are limited in our own experience, so to go with the other is so difficult.
Yeah, Osho talks about different stages of love. The first stage, learning to love yourself. Once you've mastered that, learning to love another in deep intimacy. Third stage, learning to love the whole. Fourth stage, becoming love itself. So I always like to refer to that, and people can check where they are on that path, on that trajectory. Are you able to love yourself yet? If not, do the work, show up to open to self-love. Are you able to love another in deep intimacy? If you're not, go on that journey. Are you able to love the whole? If not, embrace the whole. Find out how to be in a prayerful state with the whole and ultimately become love itself. This is the human path of evolution.
So, if you had to describe Osho beyond the mind, Was he an energy, a consciousness, a wisdom field, a reminder, a magician, a miracle? How do you feel his presence today?
As universal energy. When I used to look into his eyes, I would see the whole universe there, not a person. There was no person, just the universe. And of course, that universal energy was coming through him in its own delightful, magical ways. But in essence, he was simply the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very powerful experience when he died.
You were there?
I was there, yeah. So he was taken, his body was taken to the burning ghat, and Osho teaches about taking death as a celebration, because you're giving the person a very good send-off for the next stage on their soul's journey. So we would be playing music, singing, dancing. So everybody was going to the burning ghat, carrying Osho's body, singing, dancing, and then his body was put on the funeral pyre. We were singing, praying, crying, laughing as his body was being burned. And I went back to my room around 3 in the morning, and I slept. But then towards the sunrise, I had a dream that I went outside and I saw a huge lotus in the sky of all the colors of the rainbow. And I knew this is Osho's true body. And what he was in the human form was not his true being. This lotus of all the colors of the rainbow is his true form. And then as I recognized that, I was raising my arms and I was shouting, Osho, Osho, Osho. And then as I shouted, I saw that lotus and all the colors of the rainbow showering over the whole earth, bringing benediction and blessing to all beings. And I understood, okay, so when he was in the body, he could do a certain work, but now he can spread his essence even further through this divine body. And because of that, I couldn't mourn. It was not possible to cry and to mourn his passing because of this dream. Yeah.
Wow, Sarita, I love this story. After reading the Secret of the Secrets, that is about the lotus flower, the golden lotus flower, I connect with that idea like a lot. I was like, okay, so the illumination, like the moment that you are really connected with everything, is that moment that the lotus flower, it's open in completely disposition, no, to everything. And so to imagine Osho as that form,
Yes.
it makes sense completely.
Yeah.
So to finish this beautiful conversation, tell us about your Tantra school. What are its main principles, its vision, and the purpose? What kind of transformation do you hope people experience through your work?
So the vision I have for the Tantra school is meditation, connection, celebration. And basically what I'm teaching is the fusion of meditation and love. And my intent is to bring people back home to their true nature. And this is surprisingly easy. I always say that human beings are hardwired for bliss. And this is a statement I learned from a scientist named Candace Pert. She has a book called Molecules of Emotion. She's done a lot of studies in the laboratory about mind, body, and emotion network in the human being. So she came to that conclusion that human beings are hardwired for bliss. And I teach this to people to come back home to your original template. And as I said, it is surprisingly easy. If you create the right milieu, human beings are loving, empathic, joyful, creative human beings. This is our nature, actually. So I sense that people have been sidetracked from their true nature, and it's only to offer an invitation to come back home. And I do this by offering methods of meditation, dance, massage, sharing, ritual. So all these different aspects are woven into my work, and these devices help people to come back home very quickly and easily. It's really about remembering. We've become dismembered, so you're bringing all the member parts back, and you come into wholeness, and then you feel, so now I'm at home. That's it. And life becomes much more easy, natural, alive, joyful as a result of that.
I think that the path is not about learning, it's about remembering.
Yes, reconnecting and remembering with your true essence.
Yes.
It's easy, actually, very easy.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time, for coming to my house from Bali to here.
It's been a great joy, really.
Thank you so much for being in Mexico. I hope you have the most beautiful days here. Try to connect with the energy of here, because Mexico is powerful.
Special. I didn't know. It's my first time in Mexico.
Really?
So I am discovering. And I always like to go beneath the surface.
Yes.
To go to the ancient roots. And I'm really amazed how deep the ancient roots are, that have this shamanic wisdom that's just there pulsating in the people, in the land. And I'm very curious to keep on going deeper and exploring that.
Thank you so much for coming to Sabiduría Psicodélica. And I hope to see you soon in some course or retreat or something, because I really admire your work.
Thank you. I have online courses. I have 2 books. And of course, in-person courses also. And I have my Instagram account, so people can tune in there.
Yes, please share.
They can get my newsletter as well. And I also have a big amount of blogs that people can explore on many different subjects. So just stay tuned.
I think that your Instagram is Ma Ananda Sarita, right?
Yes, Ma Ananda Sarita.
What is your website?
It's anandasarita.com.
Okay, great. And we have a present for our community, right? You record a class or something like that?
Yes, exactly.
Do you want to share something about that?
Yeah. I think we have a link that we can post for that, so people can just click on the link.
Perfect.
And they can be into that free online course offering.
Yes, please visit the description of the podcast. We will put the link over there if you are interested in taking the class.
Yes.
And all the links of Ananda Sarita are going to be there also if you want to connect with the community. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lots
Adiós.
of love to you. Adiós.
Amiguitos, muchas gracias por conectar.